So this is a fascinating study in many different things. The first thing that is natural to say when you look at this is, well, now you know how it feels. But I don't really want to be like that with this, because this young man was probably born in this country. He's not the author of what's happening to him, but it is happening to him and it's happening to the rest of us. And we really need to be able to talk about it. We really need to have a serious conversation about where this is going. I'm going to play this video because it's just remarkable, absolutely remarkable that, that they're on the receiving end of this as well.
What's going on with Warsaw Town Centre? Back in the day, this used to be the one-stop shop. Now it's the one-stop bin. You got people chucking stuff on the floor, and they're right to do so because it's a bin. We used to have flannels. There used to be shops like Maplin that everyone used to go inside to get the remote control cars from. Only I know that, the OGs know that as well. What's going on with Warsaw Town? You got people making, I'm just a kid from Warsaw, yeah. What's that going to do for us? We've got no shops left, there's no Warsaw left. Look at the town, it's gone dry. The Polish are taking over, there's loads of Polish shops. Where's Flannels gone? Where's Diffusion gone? The only shop that stayed so long was Echo Island, that's still here till present day. Fix or Warsaw.
So that's interesting, isn't it? He's being great replaced by the Polish. I mean, I don't want to laugh because it's not funny. Because what's happening in Warsaw is the same thing that's happening everywhere else, right? The people who live in these areas are changing. And the thing is, these are not the same as the people who were initially brought in to change the population. So, for example, you can see that in Warsaw, in 2011, 2012, this is the ONS, right? We go down and have a look for ethnic group or national identity. There we go. Right, English-only identity, 68%. Now, that was in 2011. Now in 2021, 18%. So the English have moved out. That other 32% would probably have been the subcontinental community there. And in that time, the English have decided to move out. And now someone else is arriving there. And the thing is, as he's saying, these are people who, I mean, like, you know, very, very few, like British-only identity, but that means that nearly half of Warsaw doesn't have a British identity, or at least some form of British identity. British and English only, 15%, my God. So you've got a lot of people there who have a strange mix of other identities. The ONS deliberately keeps this sort of stuff opaque. I should be able to just pull that straight up and find out exactly the percentages, but actually no, they make sure that's hidden from you. But the point is, at least when it's the subcontinental, like the Bangladeshi, the Pakistani, the Indian community, at least they're known quantities, right? So, okay, the area changes. That's not good. We didn't ask for this. But you get a mosque, you get a Hindu temple. Okay, well, at least you know what they are, right? They're predictable. They are stable. You can at least learn the customs and develop a relationship between the two communities. Now, let's be fair, the relationship these communities have had with the English community hasn't exactly been brilliant, but at least the potential for something stable is there because these people are of a particular type, we are of a particular type, and therefore we can at least get to know one another and figure something out. And that, I think, is what he's talking about here. Because what has happened since the Boris wave, since the COVID lockdowns, and the mass influx of millions and millions of people in the space of only a couple of years, is that we do not have now fixed, static immigrant communities. Now what we have are the nomads of globalism, and we have them in every town centre. Swindon is awash with people from fucking everywhere. Like, if it was just one group, you could at least get to know them. It's not one group. And so we have, in Swindon Town Centre, and I'm absolutely sure it's going to be the same in Walsall, like, just very bizarre, like, mix of things, like the bloody Mos Eisley Cantina. So you'll go past, like, you know, just different groups of Somalis. They don't know each other. They're just like at different cafes, or like other sub-Saharan Africans. Then you've got North Africans who are obviously substantively different. But then you go past like, you know, East Asians, Southeast Asians, like the subcontinentals, and then you've got South Americans somehow. And it's just like, it's literally people, and then of course you've got the Europeans, so the Eastern Europeans, who of course speak in their own nonsense language. So you're just hearing this cacophony of strangers wandering by one another, and they don't actually seem to shop at the same shops as the settled communities. So now we've got like loads of shops. I did a street interview where I was just asking people, how do you feel about it? They're like, well, the shops will close. But the thing is, lots of shops have closed, but lots of shops also still exist. They're just vape shops, Turkish barbers, and a weird new phenomenon, which is East Asian or subcontinental luggage shops, where they're just, apparently all they do is sell luggage. And it makes you wonder, really, I mean, you don't see any customers in these, right? I actually see more customers in the Turkish barbers than in these luggage shops, because people actually need to get haircuts. So you can see some Turkish barbers who have got customers in them, right? In Swindon, they actually seem to have some custom. I'm not saying they're not a front for drugs or anything like that. They obviously are, but like, they also have to cut hair if someone goes in there. But the luggage shops are always persistently empty, and you're just like, how can you afford the rent on, like, what was the Top Man shop in Swindon? Giant bloody shop. There's now turned into some Pakistani luggage shop. And it's like, how can they afford that? And that's an interesting question, I'm sure, to which I'll never get an answer. But the point is, the people I was interviewing said, yeah, there's nothing around anymore. There are no shops anymore. And so it's not there aren't shops. They're just shops that people have got no interest in going into. And that's what this guy is saying. Where's our Maplin? Where's our TK Maxx? Where's our thing? And these things that people used to shop in are gone because the people who were going to shop in them have disappeared. I assume that Walsall town centre is around this area. I've not been to Walsall, so I don't know. But as you can see, 35% English, 33% English, 13% English, 26% English. This is in 2021. And you can guess how the trend has gone. So as the English people disappear, the shops that English people propped up with their business also disappear. Now, I'm sure that Amazon and the COVID lockdowns didn't help, but I think that one thing that is interesting to me is in Old Town in Swindon, there are lots of English people still living there, and so the shops there have remained relatively static in about at least 15 years, I'd say. I met my wife there, and the shops are basically all still the same, as far as I can tell. And yet in the town centre, where the English people have moved out, and I'm guessing it's the same in Walsall, the shops don't get the foot traffic anymore, so they close. And I think that's what this chap is referring to. I think this is the thing that he's expressing here. Because, I mean, you can just look at it from this perspective. This one, 30% age. So there are more than twice as many Pakistanis in this area of Walsall than there are English people. And here's the similar sort of effect. So as the town centre of Walsall has become colonised, and the English people have fled to the surrounding areas where it's still almost entirely English, well, yeah, the shops that were supported by the foot traffic there are shut down. What did you think was going to happen? And again, I don't want to blame this guy, because I don't think it's his fault personally. Like I said, he was probably born here. Judging by his accent, I'm guessing he was born here. But he is actually a part of the reason as to why this is happening, even if he personally is not responsible for it. And complaining about the Polish shops that are coming in, we're getting great replaced by the Poles. Well, there's not going to be an end to it, actually, I have to say. Basically, it's who feels comfortable living around who. And the English didn't feel comfortable living around you, and you're going to end up leaving because you don't feel comfortable living around the Poles. And the town centre will change into it'll be formatted, remapped into something that better represents what those people actually do. And if you don't go into those shops, but they do, well, the shops that you wanted to go into that the English supported, well, they don't exist anymore. The Polish shops will exist because they'll get the foot traffic from the Polish people who live there. And so you'll be like, okay, why am I even staying here? The town centre has collapsed into something I just have no interest in using. I'm just going to move somewhere else. And so we'll have a Polish colony in Warsaw now, rather than a Pakistani colony in Warsaw. And this is basically the future. This is how this is going to go until some other group moves in because there's cheap labor or whatever reason. The government puts them there, Serco puts them there, whatever it is. And when the Poles are like, well, hang on a second, why has this changed? Where are the Polish shops? This is going to be a continual cycle of just chewing up what was there before and discarding it to the eons. And it's like, great. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? We don't need to do this. And even the people who are replacing us are like, oh my God, we're being replaced. This is terrible. The town's falling apart. It's like, yes, because like I said at the beginning, at least you guys had a settled community. Now it is just the waves upon waves upon waves of nomads that globalism has created who have got no attachment whatsoever. I mean, at least, at least if you're part of the Pakistani community, you've got a local community with a mosque and you've got an actual community. These people don't have any goddamn community and they're just moving in and they'll move out like the tide. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, this is destroying the town centres. This is destroying the quality of English towns. And like I said at the beginning, and I've said it multiple times now, I don't want to blame this guy. I really don't want anyone to feel that I'm blaming this guy because it's not his fault, even if he's part of the process. This is just what has been foisted upon us and what we are going to have to live with going forward. It's just the way that things are until the government gets a grip on it and finally says, we need to stop immigration. Because whatever the problem that they thought they were solving with the mass movement of people into Britain, we've had probably in the realm of around 25 million people come and probably around 10 million people leave in the last 25, 30 years. And so if being 15 million people up and massively overpopulated because of it, if those extra 15 million people didn't solve the problem that you were trying to solve with mass migration, I think maybe mass migration isn't actually the solution to whatever the problem that you have is.